Welcome to the Connect to Metrics podcast. My name is Will Gladhart. I'm president at Connect to Metrics, a premier provider of analytic solutions that drive growth and performance. Connect to Metrics is designed for executives, executive coaches, and consultants, and other types of service providers who want to bring additional value to their clients. I'm here with my guest today, Joel Barrett. Good afternoon, Joel.
Hey, Will. Good to see you. Good to be on.
Very nice to have you here. Joel, to kind of frame our conversation, just talked about a few things on our pre-roll, but at Connect to Metrics, we've really been discussing the challenges that executives and leaders face when dealing with uncertainty in a rapidly changing environment. Whether that be a current remote workforce, they're considering returning to a blended workforce or bringing part of their workforce back together, and how we help on that culture and behavior space. So I've talked to a lot of executives, organizational and development leaders, and really wanting to find critical information they can easily access about what employees' needs are, not only remote, but also as they look to potentially transition back to an office space. So Joel and I are here today to share a few things that he's learned as a leader and consultant, kind of during the rapidly changing continued COVID period. Also, how he at the Small Business Development Center and his team have helped clients and some of the communities they serve. Some trends he might be observing, and then some challenges that he's hearing from some business owners or startups as he works to serve those communities. So anything to add to our topic list today, Joel?
Well, that's a lot. I'm sitting here thinking, boy, I better be good. I better have some answers.
Well, come on, that's what they pay you to do at the SBDC. So I'm just kidding. So it is my pleasure to introduce Joel. Joel brings a coaching and consulting and entrepreneurial business background and spirit to his role as a business development consultant at the Missouri Small Business Development Center at UMKC. He is a coach and the co-instructor for Elevation Lab, the new venture piece, as well as facilitates the Entrepreneurial Mindset Program and First Step courses. Joel has decades of experience as an entrepreneur and a business owner. He currently operates his own business, Joel Speaks Out, where he is an LGBTQ writer and speaker. He has worked in the public and private sectors as general manager, director of marketing, business consultant, and community organizer. Joel is recognized for his ability to determine the next steps for entrepreneurs, as well as his coaching and consulting expertise that's influenced by his active involvement in community organizations. Joel currently serves as a board member and director for programming at the Mid-American LGBT Chamber of Commerce, and he also has a master's degree in liberal studies with sustainability from Indiana University. So that's a quick intro of who Joel is. We have a lot more to discuss than just his background. So I'm so pleased to have you here today. Can you share a little bit more with me about the Small Business Development Center and the type of clients you work with and serve?
So the Missouri Small Business Development Center at UMKC, we're located here in Kansas City at 4747 Troost, and now anywhere you are because we're on Zoom.
Which is awesome.
It feels like, do I even need to say the address anymore? It's been a long time since I stepped foot inside that building, but we are a part of a nationwide network of small business development centers. We are funded in part through local, state, federal tax dollars, the Small Business Administration, several other granting sources. So thank you for paying your taxes. And in short, we exist to help people start and grow their business. So I work primarily, we have a team of people at the SBDC. I work primarily in the startup realm. So I work with people that are coming in with maybe just a dream of what they thought they might like to do, all the way up to people who are saying, I've been doing this and making some money off it, but I don't know if I'm doing it right. And two people that come in and said, I started a business and now I'm not really sure what to do with it. So a little bit of anything that falls in that startup realm. We do that through three primary ways. One is group learning. So we have a wide array of classes and things that we offer for people to take. And then we do that by connecting people to other resources within the Kansas City region. I mean, this is a great place to be a small business owner. There's over 200 organizations dedicated to entrepreneurship in some fashion. And we're really good at getting you connected to those, as well as to individuals, other business owners. And then finally, we accomplish that goal through one-on-one coaching or consulting. And that is always available at no charge. to the small business owner. So I have over 200 clients that I'm coaching at any given time, not all at once, but they are all on my roster. And yeah, so you mentioned earlier the other things I do, but that gives you a little summary as to what the Small Business Development Center is. I think of it as one of Kansas City's best kept secrets.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, especially that organization, the SBDC has always been a great partner with myself as an entrepreneur, but other entrepreneurs to be able to funnel like business owners to use your resources. Because as you said, someone could be coming to you with an idea that, like I did long ago, like scribbled on a napkin, a business partner and I like had just laid out and was like, well, here's what we think we want to do. And we have no clue where to go, to someone that's been in business, or even what are the steps to get you to the next step, or even get you to, are you an LLC or an S corp, or what's the best model for your business. So having that team of people not only has been invaluable to me, but I know that because KC is such an entrepreneurial city, and those resources that you mentioned of over 200 plus connections are hugely invaluable. You mentioned kind of a whole gamut of individuals that might seek out the Small Business Development Center, but can you tell me what a typical client might look like, or maybe can it be anybody?
It really is anybody and everybody. It was one of the things I really enjoy about doing our classes and our coaching is that I never know when I step into a classroom who's going to be represented there, what the ideas I'm going to hear about. I never know when somebody calls and makes an appointment, and I'm like, what are we going to learn today? I will say that when I step into our classrooms, it's probably one of the best representations of the diversity of Kansas City that you'll ever see in one space. It crosses all the lines from gender to race to socioeconomic class, or I hate to use that word, that's not the right word, but socioeconomic levels, so to speak, and just a little bit of everything. So, I mean, we get a group of people that I feel like rarely are ever in the same room together. And we spend 5 Tuesdays in a row or 9 Wednesdays in a row in a class. And by the end of that, they all know each other. They're staying in touch. They're supporting one another. But I feel like I almost have to say I've heard it all, like as far as business concepts that come through.
I love that you focus on not only in the classroom, like community learning, but that learning from a perspective of, maybe here's what I learned as a business owner versus what you don't know, and where I can fill the gaps in. Because, in my experience in going through the Kauffman Fast Track Growth Venture program, it was a lot of that same type of learning, where what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what not to do. So it was a great experience to learn from fellow business owners who are right there in the trenches with you.
Peer-to-peer interaction is probably one of the strongest pieces of that. And oftentimes as entrepreneurs or business owners, we get very insulated without realizing it. And we're in this insular environment where we've just got so much to do that we don't tap into other people that are doing similar things or other resources. So
it's great. That's a great point, because I think we can forget that there are people experiencing exactly what we are experiencing at the same moment, at the same time, every day. And, sometimes it takes, for example, like myself, having an executive coach to kind of whack you over the head and be like, okay, you are not alone, and you need to, connect with other business owners to be able to share similar stories.
And I think in our society, we have this underlying feeling that you're never supposed to admit that you're having a rough time in your business, or that you don't know what to do. Like you always have to have it all together, all the answers, everything. And the truth is, none of us do. None of us do. And so just be willing to admit that you need some assistance. You don't have to do this alone. And there are people out there that are ready, willing, able to share, to help carry the load, give perspective, so on and so forth.
No, I love that you bring that up. So in kind of the spirit of that entrepreneurship, but also being a leader and mentor in the business community, can you share with me maybe something that you've learned over the last 6, 8, 10 weeks of working with business owners?
Business owners small business owners are really resilient. I mean, I so admire the spirit that I've witnessed in so many people who are in a true panic, so to speak. Like they don't know what's going to happen, but they are just pulling out all the stops, exploring every option, asking questions, and they're just working so hard to get through this, whatever that means, in whatever way. And so I'm really impressed with the resiliency, and I think entrepreneurship by nature tends to draw people who have a resiliency about them because it's a scary thing. And this is a scary time for a lot of people, but I think that entrepreneurs are equipped to face fear better than sometimes other people because they're like, hey, I live this, I eat, drink, and breathe this. So like I witnessed some of our restaurant owners, for example, who are just like plodding forward, like, and sometimes I just go, man, it's just one hit after the other. And I so admire their fortitude, and they're like, no, drive, we're going to make this work. Here's what's next. And I'm to the tail end of a 12-week series of webinars called Better Together Tuesdays. And yesterday I interviewed 3 clients of the center, small business owners, and we talked about the art of the pivot. That's another area where I've just been so impressed to watch small business owners step outside of their comfort zone, step outside of that box and think, well, how can I continue to have a business and do it in a different way and make money and keep some income coming in? And I've seen some really impressive pivots.
That, and I think once people got through the storming, forming, and then back to a little more norming, they were able to look back and reflect on how quickly they made the change, not only to be resilient and responsive to the needs of their employees, but also of middle management, executives, those pieces. And it amazes me so many individuals were able to do it and make that change so rapidly who weren't necessarily entrepreneurs or leaders, and I've heard individuals that were like, oh, hey, I was the guy that was, I came in, I was a social butterfly. I wanted to see people in the office and I wanted to connect and engage. But he said, I found an entirely new way to do this. And it wasn't what I expected, but it's working. And do I want to do it? What do I want to do it forever? Probably not, but it can be done. And I love that you address that pivot piece because it's such a critical element. And I know as entrepreneurs, sometimes we can potentially overuse the pivot word, but I think pivot's reacting to change, and it doesn't matter what change it is, that you address it like the restaurant owners and you plod forward, and it is one step, one foot in front of the other, and you are making it happen, and you may not even see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you don't know how it looks. And you're going to figure out a way to make it happen because that's how you've been running your business or living your life. So
let me add one thing to that. I like to think of it as simple as listening to the market. That's really all it is. It's just like we think of that more in these big broad things, but now we're in a situation where the market's changing so rapidly and so out of the norm. But that's really all you're doing is you're just paying attention and going, oh, the market doesn't want to come and sit down in my restaurant anymore, so what do I do, so it's really just as simple as what any business needs to be doing all the time, because the moment you stop listening to the market, you become Kmart.
Right. Well, and that's extremely sage advice. Along those lines, Joel, because you have worked with a lot of different clients and you can't disclose any confidential information, but I'd love to hear how either you helped or a client win during this period. Something that you thought was maybe a little outside the norm, but it was maybe kind of special, or it might be inspiring for other business owners. So,
well, I think I could tell you about this one because they were on a guest on the podcast I did yesterday, so their information's out there. But my friend Will Brown with Will Brown Interiors, he is, has been building his business, and obviously, when you're an interior designer, you're talking about the interior of people's homes. That's a really intimate experience. You want to bring somebody into your home. You want to show them around. You want to have that sit down, that get the feel. Well, suddenly that was not possible. And Will developed an virtual visit. So he now has a whole nother component to his business where he can do a virtual tour with people. And what that has done is that has opened up clientele far outside of Kansas City now.
Yeah,
So,
that's
when you're doing
phenomenal.
it in person, it's going to just be within a driving distance. And suddenly now, because he can go visit people's homes outside of that, he's got clients popping up in places he would have never had before. So I think that's a really great example of
That's
just,
that's that's phenomenal because I mean obviously when you think of commercial space or those you think of like the CBREs or like the big entities of the world that have that virtual technology built in, cost thousands and thousands of dollars to utilize and implement, and Will's created something that still connects him to his clients, but in a
yeah.
totally different way, and that may turn into a tool for other designers down the road.
I
So
had another person on that same podcast. She runs Yarn Social, which is a yarn store for knitters and crocheters, and they're on close to the state line on 45th or something like that. Anyway, it's kind of the same thing. Suddenly, the very name of her store is Social, and it's been all built around building community, bringing people in. They do knitting circles, and they have I've been a guest speaker at their knitting circle, and so it's a very social type situation where they create community. And I'm like, well, Trish, what do you do? Suddenly your name is Yarn Social, and now we're talking about social distancing. And kind of the same thing. She's learned they do virtual knitting circles. They have done this very personalized experience. If you want to buy products, she wasn't equipped in the beginning, didn't have an online store yet. So that was something she wasn't quite ready for. And then all of a sudden she had to. Well, instead, what she did while they're building the online part, the online shopping part, is you can create a virtual shopping experience. I make an appointment. They will take you around via Zoom or iPhone or wherever they do it. They will help you pick out the yarn. You can talk about it. You can do you get this really individualized shopping experience that I think is probably more attractive than just going through a web page of pictures of yarn and saying that one looks good, So she thinks that will probably be a part of their permanent business model.
that's fantastic, and I can see that applying to almost any type of business, whether it be how do you do an effective things that we haven't addressed. How do you do an effective team meeting remotely beyond Zoom, where yes, there's whiteboard tools and all these other pieces, but what if we need to look at a component? What if we need to look at things as a group, imagery, or you can do a certain extent online, but I love that there could be a potential human element experience with the virtualized shopping, and
Yeah.
maybe that has a home in retail somewhere down the road too. So
And she now is attracting people outside of Kansas City because they can come to her store, so to speak. They can be a part of a knitting group or whatever, and they don't have to be here in Kansas City.
yeah, so just a quick question. Have you noted, or there's probably consistent topics that have come up, but any culture connection, engagement challenges that any of your clients are facing, that kind of seem to be a common theme?
Well, if I understand your question, I think everybody's got Zoom fatigue.
Yeah.
And I think that's been a challenge for everybody to figure out. We went from like nothing and no virtual meetings basically, except for once the blue moon, 24/7 it felt like. And I think everybody's now trying to find the balance of that and figure out what that looks like. So that has been a challenge for a lot of people. And then, of course, navigating all of the SBA loans situation, the PPP and the idle loan and banks, and there's a lot of uncertainty. And then you combine everything that 2020 has thrown at us. I mean, it's a lot. Any one of these pieces is a lot by itself.
Right.
Not only do we have a global pandemic, but then we have to be quarantined and we have to change how we work and where we work, and we're how we engage is different. Everything is different. And then you have a lot of racial and social unrest happening in the United States right now, and protests, and like all of those things are huge. And we're
That's
dealing with
the
all of those
thing.
at once.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I've been impressed with a lot of businesses being able to kind of tackle all of that, show support to like Black Lives Matter, but at the same time run their business and do business in a different way. And overall, I think the business owners that I interact with are just doing a really fantastic job. And I know it's more stressful than they let on, or probably even realize themselves.
Hmm.
And I hope that everybody cuts themselves a lot of slack and takes a deep breath now and then.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting you say that. I find that like many individuals, it's go, 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 lots of, either work, time spent 24/7, and then it's either, more a crash or I get stuck. And I get stuck in like one specific place where I can't seem to get beyond whatever is going on. And I've found for myself, but also, in talking to some other executives and owners that, sometimes just stopping, and maybe it's just even for 30 minutes, or it's something completely different, or focusing on something completely not related to anything about a business need, employee need, those things. Yes, you still want to be responsive and sensitive to those issues, but like you can't have them coming at you all the time nonstop, because it's not sustainable, it's not manageable. And because as an owner, a lot of the time it relies on you to run your business and manage your employees and your staff and feed, which dovetails into feeding their families, all these other pieces. There's a lot of responsibility there, but I love that you address that. We've got like a bazillion things going on right now that have happened in 6 months. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, that is hugely atypical. So I
Did
think
you
that
know
brings,
that this year, December 31st, we're not having a New Year's Eve party. We're having a good riddance party.
oh my God, I know. So much for a crazy leap year. Two things I want to touch on before we close out today. One, because of your role as a leader, but also on the LGBTQ side, with Joel Speaks Out. Tell me a little bit, just kind of give me a quick synopsis of that, as well as some of the ways that you serve that community as well.
Well, I'm an LGBTQ writer, speaker, and gatherer. And what I use is my story, which is a rather colorful one, to encourage people to live authentically, not controlled by fear and shame. I, in another life, was lived a very different life from this one. I was a conservative Baptist pastor, married to my wife with 3 kids, went through 3 years of ex-gay or conversion therapy before coming out. That's a really nutshell version of it, but
Oh, I know.
needless to say, that makes for a colorful story. And I really firmly believe in people living authentically, not controlled by fear and shame. We have a lot of that in our lives. So that's what I write and speak about. I've also, when I use the gathering part, I do a lot of community work, and my work has expanded into other related areas. Just time to promote my new book. I just had a book come out called Cultivating Culture as a Garden.
I know, which is like congratulations. And this is your first. Is this your first co-authorship on a book?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. So I
Amazing.
worked with Dr. Nicole Price, who's a good friend of mine, and it's a small book about a big idea, and it's a really easy, quick read, great discussion starter to talk about reaping the harvest of diversity and inclusion. So, I'm the white cis gay male. Nicole is a black woman of color, black woman who's an ally. She's a fairly religious person. I'm not. So there's a lot of diversity amongst just the two of us. And so that's what that book's about. That's part of what I'm doing. I have found that during this season of life, I am getting asked more and more to talk about these kinds of things, about the fact that my husband is black. And so he comes from an irreligious background. I come from a very religious background, although I'm not anymore. And so a lot of people are now, in fact, they're asking if both of us will come, David and I, and speak. And David's not not, I mean, he is a good public speaker, but that's not what he does for a living.
Exactly.
But, so I'm finding talking about that intersection of LGBTQ and religion, or LGBTQ and race, and beginning to address some of those things as well. So it's an interesting time that I'm finding that I'm trying to respond to the market myself and realizing, oh, people are asking me for this. So I'm doing it.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, and the work that you've done with the Gay and Lesbian Chamber, but also in speaking, sharing your story out there. We'll definitely be including a link to your social and website info as part of the podcast. But so thank you for that. But also, too, congratulations on. I hope to get to where you're at one day and actually get around to writing something or co-authoring a piece. But that's an amazing achievement, and I look forward to reading the book as well.
I have my own book is in the works and will be out this year as well. I'm putting finishing touches on. In fact, I was writing it right before this broadcast. So.
Oh, awesome. Well, so as we kind of close out today, Joel, are there maybe one or two tips that you'd like to share with business leaders or executives, business owners, something that maybe they can implement immediately in their business, or just something that you've learned that is helpful?
A business is solving other people's problems. And when they pay you for that, you have a business. You can solve other people's problems, but if they're not paying you for it, it's not a business, it's just an expensive hobby. So I encourage people to never stop looking for the problem. Can I use a little language on this podcast? Yeah. We call it listen for the bitchin'. And right now, there is a whole new set of problems to be solved. And so this is really an ideal time for everybody, whether you're in business or thinking about starting one, to really tune in to what are the new problems and can I solve those? Is there a way for me to solve that and make it a part of my business? So that's kind of an exciting time. Sometimes people get lost in all of this and just feel like everything's so chaotic. It's like, just stop and start listening and really listen to what people are complaining about. Listen to what people are saying and want, and look for ways to solve those problems in a repeatable way so you can make some money off of it.
That's some very excellent advice. And, Joel, thank you again for your time and for the accomplishments that you've had most recently. And also thank you for the service that you do to not only the Kansas City business community and beyond with the SBDC. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Okay.
Thanks, Will. I appreciate having me on.